So today's episode, we have the lovely guest, Annie Toufic, who is from Hollywood, California. And I do want to do an intro for her as well, but in terms of Akashic Records reading, that's how we met. And she's
Mhm.
taken Akashic initiation. She's a creative channel and energy healer. And before we hopped on the call, we were talking about alchemy and working in the Akashic Records being alchemy. So when you're even describing being an alchemist of sorts, how would you share that with people? And
Okay.
welcome.
Hello. Hi, Tara. So, I think that first and foremost, I know this is something that we've talked about in class. Everyone has the ability to do this type of work, but the way that I like to look at it is that we are all individual recipes. So some of us may have a little bit more of one thing versus another, and how that translates to this type of work is that we may have certain strengths that are going to be stronger than others. No matter how much we learn or pour into it, there's just going to be certain things that we may be better at versus others. So the way that I look at alchemy is that when we do this type of work, or mediumship or traditional spellcraft. We're all alchemists, but we just have different gifts that are a little more amplified. Some people are experts with herbs, and they use their energy and their intentions to channel, what recipes are going to work to help create a ritual around helping someone achieve something, right? But what I've noticed with a lot of Akashic readers is our key component of alchemy tends to be our voice. So that's through the storytelling of what we're seeing, tasting, smelling, kind of like a medium, or a channeler, a tarot reader. But we use our words and sometimes Reiki or other tools like sound vibration to help shift things. Also, another thing is like oftentimes when we tell people the inception of a wound or a pattern, a negative pattern, once they become aware of it, most people, unless there's like resistance or oppositional defiance, will, most people, when they recognize that pattern again, they'll be like, wait, what's that? No, 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 I can't do that again. I'm going to fall back into that pattern. I don't want to do that. So there's the choice element of it. But with alchemy, I feel like our strong suit tends to be, well, I guess if you strip back the layers, it's vibration, right? Because sound translates to light vibrating.
So how did you get
That was
into
long-winded,
this?
sorry.
No, it was perfect. How did you get into this realm? Like from I feel like from a younger age you've been more open to the spiritual spaces. So yeah, how did your journey start to get you to the point of being a reader and helping people on their journeys?
So for about 10 years, almost 10 years, I was a hairdresser. And when I started
Woo!
doing that work, I was constantly overwhelmed. I didn't know what was going on. But before that, I used to work in thrift stores, at vintage clothing stores. And I thought I was going crazy because I would like pick up a jacket and it'd be like, check that pocket. And there'd be like a $50 bill from like 1950 whatever, and it's like I've never even seen a $50 bill that looks like this before, so things like that. And I would start to ask friends like that worked at the store with me, like, oh, do you ever just like get the urge to like check a pocket or something, or do you ever like feel like, oh, somebody totally died in this? And they would look at me like, no. And this was like 15 to 18 years ago. So it wasn't as widely accepted to talk about these things, let alone find places for this sort of stuff like it is now.
Yeah.
So I just thought I was going crazy for a long time. And I thought, okay, well, if I stop drinking alcohol and if I stop smoking, maybe I won't hear dead people anymore or whatever.
Yeah.
And that worked for a little while, but then it just got louder, and I was like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. So I wrestled around with it a lot, but when I was a hairdresser, and I had premonition since I was a teenager, but I never understood it or accepted it. But when I was a hairdresser in my late 20s, I met one of my friend's aunts who was visiting from Japan. And she was a medium. And she started telling me all these things about myself. And she didn't even speak English, so they had to translate for her.
Oh, wow.
And like she had just arrived, so there was no way they could have told her any of these things. And some of the things that she said, they didn't even know. So she gave me some tips and tricks to protect my energy when I was working with people. Because in a lot of cultures and traditions, they see hair as an antenna
Mm.
and a communicator of sorts. And I started to notice when I was working in that field, if I had clients that were like nurses or therapists or, doctors, manicurists, people, it seems that people who either have high communication or high contact jobs where you interact with a high volume of people tend to have really elevated psychic senses, but maybe don't always have a name to put to it.
Right.
And through that my friend's aunt, I slowly kind of started peeking behind the veil and trying to find any resource that I could to understand what was going on. And that shop that I took you to, Spellbound Sky, I had I started going to it around the time that it had only been open for a few years. This was like
Oh, wow. Can
2018,
I just
2017.
I just want to share Annie and I got to meet in real life in May of 2024 because I was doing a little road trip. I went to California. I'm like, I gotta meet you in person, which was so amazing. And that store was lovely. And the owner,
Yeah,
like it was just so thank you. I just
of
had to like
course.
put this
Thank you.
in. Internet friends meeting in real life.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And those guys, it's a couple that own it, Mark and Martin. If anyone's visiting Silver Lake, California, Spellbound Sky is lovely. They really helped me a lot, and would give me like little tips and tricks to do to cleanse my energy, or sometimes if they feel called to it, because it's just like intuition based, but if they feel called to it, sometimes they will help people if something's out of balance, like just to recalibrate a little bit in store. um, Really, but it's only he only does it if he feels like, oh, you really really need this right now. So they taught me a lot there. And then a couple other shops around LA. Another one is the Green Man. I took a lot of courses there, and became friends with a couple of the teachers there. Shout out to Pleasant and Melissa. And through the pandemic, I had gotten really sick right before the pandemic happened, and I had to stop doing hair for a couple years. So I was really just faced with a lot of time in bed. Like 9 or 10 months before the pandemic, I had to stop working, and I was like in bed most of the time. And so I just started reading a bunch and taking courses with people, online, and like shadowing and stuff like that. So really, it's I had one of the teachers at the Green Man explain it to me, and they said that sometimes when people try to outrun their initiation by source,
Mm.
it forces you to sit down
Yeah.
and forces an initiation of sorts. If
Yes.
it's your calling to do that, like full time, or part time,
Yeah.
whatever
But to do
capacity
it.
that's meant for you, it forces you to. So I feel like that time of being sick and like heal thyself, um, really is what afforded me the ability to stop and really prioritize that. Yeah. So
Mm.
that's I didn't know how to condense that answer. Sorry.
Yeah. No, no. We don't need to condense. So through that of going through the trial of having to be bedridden and not, and it's just like what, not even knowing what's happening. When did you start to step into this? Well, and going through the healing journey too, but when did you start to step into this of I'm I'm seeing this as an initiation. I can't run away from
Hmm.
my calling. And so therefore I'm going to surrender and allow, and I'm here to serve in a
Hmm.
different way. Because doing hair is service too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But in the healing arts.
Well, and what's interesting, when I was doing hair, I would accidentally channel for people all the time. Like, I didn't realize what it was at the time, but it's like, you're speaking like a mile a minute. You're telling them things they haven't told you yet. And they're like, how did you know that? It's like, I don't know. Like, I remember one day, it was like during eclipse season, like, I want to say like 2018 or something in the fall. And I had one day where I had like 5 clients, and they were coming to all tell me like big milestones that they hadn't talked about before. And I was just like, they're like, I have something to tell you. And I would just be like, blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, how did you know? I like literally just decided I'm moving to Tennessee. Like, I didn't tell anyone that. How did you know that? I was like, I have no idea. But I guess I just know you really well. but so I mean, I was doing it. I just didn't know what I was doing. Um, but right at the beginning, like literally a week before the pandemic happened, I got diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, and I was able to get on medicine. So that helped with some of the brain fog because I have an allergic disorder. So like the bedridden part was because I was constantly on Benadryl, like because I was having like all these allergic reactions. So I was just drugged. But once we figured out what was going on and I was able to get on the right stuff, that really helped. And then I started taking courses with people. And because the world was shut down, I
Yeah.
mean, healers were really thriving once everyone kind of figured out, like, oh, we can do Zoom, oh, we can do
Yes.
this. And so the first thing I did was I took a tarot course, and I took it with this woman, Pleasant. She's a writer. She's a writer and a witch, Pleasant Gaiman. She's amazing. Then after that, I took a Reiki course. And then when I did the Reiki, that really opened up a lot of things.
Mm.
Then it opened up my mind to mediumship because I started accidentally, channeling stuff like that. So then I took a mediumship course with the Reiki was with Gina, the mediumship course was with Melissa. Then I finished Reiki with this girl, Natalie, who lives in Portland, Oregon. You would love her.
Oh.
She's this beautiful goth girl, but she's like the softest flower. She works with flower essence, like you would love her. And I knew her from the goth clubs back in the day, but I didn't realize I knew her when I took the class with
Of course.
her.
Of course.
Shout out to Bar Sinister for their etheric connections. That's the name of the goth bar.
Yeah.
But then after mediumship, that opened me up in a bigger way. Melissa St. Hilaire, she's an author and a witch as well.
Hmm.
Then I always love giving the flowers to, people that helped me, because it's why I have become who I am with this work. Um, and then
Well, it's the
after,
lineage too.
huh?
It's the lineage too.
Yes, yes. And then from Melissa, then I got connected with this woman, Carrie Ann, who's on the East Coast, who did the Akashic Records, and she's the first person that I took courses from.
Oh.
Then I got connected with my mentor. I won't say her name because she's off grid, but remote viewer. So that's why off grid. But then I got connected with her. And then somewhere in the mix, I started following you
Okay.
and I started getting readings from you. And then I saw that you had courses in, I think it was the fall of 2023 or winter of 2023, something like that. And then I took the courses from you. And so I wanted to learn, and I still, because the first way I learned was through automatic writing,
I
which
remember.
I do still incorporate that, because I feel like sometimes, depending on the person or how like heavy it is, sometimes it helps me go deeper, but there's always an element of live channeling involved. And I really credit taking the courses with you to help me feel safe in opening up to that live channeling aspect. And another reason I felt so connected to you was because I had already been incorporating sound bowls, even though that's not the way I learned to do like the healings. And then when I saw that you were doing it, I was like, she's like, we're like doing the same thing. Oh my God. And then I saw your old burlesque pictures and I was like,
Oh,
oh, I love it. I love all the layers of her. This is amazing.
we're human, girl. We've got lives.
Yes.
Don't worry.
Yes.
Okay, so speaking of layers,
Mm-hmm.
you singing, what? What? Tell the people about the singing journey because you were afraid to sing before. Is that true?
I still am. Um,
Oh, but you're doing it now and recording. So please, like, spill the tea on the
well,
singing.
I really like singing, and I've done, things for myself or had friends encourage me to record things for myself. And I have. And then I've, done quite a few like demo sessions for people where it's like you're just recording the scratch vocals or things like that or doing backgrounds for them. I've done that quite a bit. And that's really fun because I feel like you can really be free there because the pressure isn't on you, it's on whoever the main person performing is. Um, but then you also have to be careful because sometimes if you uh, let go fully,
Hmm.
you sometimes accidentally oversing the other person, and then that creates issues too. And it's like you're like, pull back a little bit, girl. But you don't want to piss off the talent. But but and that's happened before. But but I did record some stuff earlier this year with one of my friends. It's not out yet, but hopefully by the end of the year it will be. But I like to incorporate channeling when I'm writing, and oftentimes that's how it'll come. Sometimes I'll be, listening to an old song from like the 1920s or 30s, and then it's like, oh, gotta pull over to the side of the road and write this really quick. And it's weird because it tends to, like, most of my writing will happen in the fall. It's something about the veil being thin.
How interesting.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's always around eclipse season. I'll sit and
Okay.
maybe write like 10 or 12 things. It's that veil. It's really thin.
Well, and I remember you sharing something as well that stuck with me of a past life memory.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure I've had a couple things as, incorporating voice and sound. And I kind of think that's why that's an element now. But something else that I'm kind of getting into the idea of is siren energy.
Ooh.
And I actually have a little mermaid right here. But um, they say that you kind of embody some of that energy if one of the things is like either if you, really enjoy singing or you're really good at it, or if just your speaking voice, people tend to be really drawn to your speaking voice,
Yeah.
which I always have people tell me, like, your voice is so calming.
Yeah.
And I think what I've noticed with alchemy for myself personally, and I had somebody mention it once, is that whatever you're lacking in your natal chart is the type of magic that you need to incorporate, and that's what you'll be best at.
Mm.
So for me, it's a lot of fire, it's a lot of earth. There's not much air and there's not much water. So, air, your voice,
Yeah.
singing, sound healing, it all kind of fits into that realm.
Okay. Oh,
So it
and
makes
even
sense.
what you were talking about the recipes earlier too. It's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
incorporating more of that into your recipe.
To balance out the rest. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because if you're too grounded all the time, not ground, but like
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah. Yeah.
too dense, it's hard to access this information. So you need some of that airiness to kind of uplift. But then it's like if you're too airy, you maybe need to take away some of the whimsical
Yeah.
thinking and be like, okay, you're having visuals. Okay, first, check your carbon monoxide detector to make sure you're not hallucinating from
Yeah.
from that. And if that's
Mhm.
good, maybe you're a medium, okay?
Oh, the funny
Let's
thing is,
incorporate some practical in there.
I would never think of that. Isn't that fun? But some people would think that way of like,
I
I'm seeing things. What's happening?
I had no, I had a Melissa. She does paranormal investigations too, and so she was like, when things are happening, we have to first examine the practical,
Oh,
and
right.
then if there is no, logical explanation, or there's no history of this or that or whatever going on with the person, then we can start to examine XYZ. But we have to be logical and look at the practical first. And then if that can't be explained, then we go to the whimsical. For,
But
paranormal
it makes sense.
investigations, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because you do like you're dealing with folks that might be very skeptical, or it's just you need to be sure. And
Yeah.
see, I see so much value in that, and I think it's important, and at the same time to have an open mind
Yeah.
and an open heart to the possibility
Yeah.
of the whimsical, because it's so much more active than humanity as a whole might
Hmm.
believe it is.
Well, and like you said, like when you're doing things in like group settings where there's skeptics or people trying to prove that, you have to show like the quantitative proof of like
Of course.
it's not this, now let's look at the spiritual.
Well, and see, that's been an interesting, and so maybe you can relate to this
Yeah.
with the Akashic record. Like let's say Akashic records compared to astrology. Astrology is mathematics, it's science. It's
Mhm.
you can quantify that even I don't know, even tarot, right? Like you've got
Yeah.
the visual, hey Empress, I see you.
Yeah.
Um
I've got mine. We've got the sun
it's
card right here.
Well, but it's so funny because you can look at the picture and identify it and
Hmm.
understand it, but the Akashic Records is almost you're just tapping into the field. There's not like they could do studies with it, but it's not something tangible that you
Yeah.
can hold or see, or like
The
the mathematics of the stars.
the only tangible thing that I've seen, and it's been crazy to me, and I'm sure you've had
Mm.
experiences like this too, where it's like you'll tell some I blame the mediumship, but I've had things happen where I've told people either about, a past life that is surrounded around a historic event, and they're like, oh my God, I've always been
Mm.
obsessed with that part of history, but I never knew why.
Yeah.
Or I had one person, and today this is still the one of the craziest ones. I told her she had a lot of like spirits around her. Oh God.
Ah.
I told her she had a lot of spirits around her. And she was like, yeah, every single reader tells me that. And I'm like, okay, well, like some of them are ancestral, but like half of them are not. Like, what do you do for work? And she just started laughing. And she's like, well, I used to be an archaeologist at the tar pits. And, and also, I own a thrift store now. And I was like,
Ah.
oh my God. Well, that explains the other half, but now let's look at the ancestral ones. And so I started channeling and telling her a story. And I wasn't sure what event it was in
Yep.
history, but I started describing a scene of somebody hiding under like a bed and like seeing boots running by and then hearing people being shot in the backyard. And she was so shook because she was like, I know that story from my family. And I was like, yeah, you're one of the little kids that was there. You're them reincarnated, which is why they follow you. And she told me some of my relatives, she's like, part of my family was killed in the Holocaust.
Yep.
And so it's like, I was telling her a past life, but it was directly linked to her ancestral line now.
Yes.
That spooked me so much. But I've had a few little things like that where it's like I'll describe something and like, oh yeah, my great grandma, I know where that wound comes from, or whatever.
Mm.
But
Well, and sometimes repeating patterns. Somebody
yeah, oh yeah.
they'll have it in this lifetime, or you'll describe something from another time, but they've experienced it in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Just like
Mm-hmm.
boom, but they don't know.
Yeah. And that I feel like that's proof,
Yeah.
because how could you know those things?
Yeah. So
There's
what? Oh no, go. Go.
I was gonna say another interesting thing. I don't know if you've seen these videos, but if you go on YouTube and you look up like studying the brains of mediums,
Hmm.
they put these brainwave caps on different mediums and they'll have them start channeling and then they watch the pattern in their brains. And even though they're awake and they're talking, their brain waves and brain patterns show that they're like asleep. So
Hmm.
it's like the meditative state that you go in is similar to REM when you're channeling.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It's
That's
so
like a fun
crazy.
rabbit hole.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna love it. It's really
Oh.
good. And they have a couple like they do it for a couple like famous mediums.
So I have a question for you as well,
Yeah.
just because I know what we've been speaking about. Yeah, some people will really connect with, and so and might be on a similar path. So for you, what have you found to be the most challenging thing about, once again, accepting the initiation, saying, I can't run from the call, I'm going to now be of service in this way? What has been the most challenging thing for you?
The most challenging thing for me to accept has been not doing things for free
Mm.
all the time. Sometimes, yeah, for people I'm close with or maybe long term clients, but I really had a big lesson to learn around that because I was doing it a lot. And every time I would do it, maybe like 3 or 4 times in a month, like if it was at a certain capacity, I would have an autoimmune flare and like end up in the hospital. It was crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was nuts. So I had to come to terms with, I'm a Cancer moon, so I'm like, that's like one of the few water placements I have in my chart. So I'm like, you tell me a sob story, it's pulling at my heartstrings, and I want to help,
Yes.
but sometimes to my detriment. So what
Well,
I
yeah.
had to, what I had to come to terms with was, even if it's not a lot, sometimes, like even if it's, whatever you agree on with the person, there has to be some type of exchange, because otherwise you're just depleting yourself. And that was really hard for me, because at least with hair or something, you could be like, oh, well, the product costs this much, and I'm using this much
You can
visible
justify it.
energy. Yeah. So, okay, that, I can make sense of that. But when it's something people can't see, they don't always know the value of it till afterwards,
Mm.
and after they see the changes. So that was really hard for me, was charging and then accepting, feeling comfortable charging certain amounts that I felt was worth my time, or worth the energy and
And,
effort put and attention to detail put into it. Um,
and that helps support you because we have to be supported too.
yeah, yeah. And then it's like, girl, like, yeah, this is the only work that you do, girl. Like, you need
Mm.
to, this is your full-time job. And another thing for me that was really hard to get with the program of, but not really, because in some ways it's similar to hair, that there are seasons that are busier than
Mm.
others.
Yeah.
But you have to learn to not be so hard on yourself when it's a slow
Mm.
season, because, and that's why having community in this space is so important, because if you talk to your friends and, like, let's say they're across the country or whatever, and they're like, oh no, girl, it's a rough season,
Yeah, me
you're not
too.
gonna,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not gonna beat yourself up.
No.
And when you don't work out of a physical brick and mortar, it's hard to not do that sometimes,
Yeah.
because you don't always, if it's just you don't always have that support system around you to, like, keep you encouraged and be like, girl, don't give up, just wait, it's gonna be fine, next week's gonna be better,
Yeah.
you know. So it's
Mm.
important to have that community too, even if you are solo.
Right. Ooh, so on the flip side of that,
Mm-hmm.
what has been the most, I don't want to use the word rewarding, but the most fulfilling part of this
Um,
and being that in the world?
ooh, and this is going to go back to that a little bit, what we were just talking about not charging our worth,
Yeah.
because something that I had to make, something that I love, but something that I also had to make peace with, is it was really hard for me when I would do a lot of free or discounted work for certain people, because, they would tell a sob story or whatever.
Yeah.
Or they were having a rough season, because some people, it's legitimate. And others just know how to pull at your heartstrings really
Yeah.
well. Um, I love the thing that's the most fulfilling, and then I'll circle back to
Yeah.
that and the flip side of it. The thing that's the most fulfilling is seeing people achieve the things that they set out to achieve, and them realizing that by them showing up and doing the spiritual work, because we're just a mirror, right? And we help create, we're a catalyst, we're a mirror, we help create that change, but it wouldn't work if they weren't willing to do so.
Right.
So also a lot of credit goes to the person on the receiving end of the spiritual work, and then having the discernment to show up for all of the things that you've asked for, and becoming the person that you want to become, that's ready to achieve and receive those things, is also a component to it,
Ooh, achieve
You're,
and receive.
yes. um my most gratifying part is seeing people being able to clear away the clutter, clear away the chatter, and just be in go mode and achieve the things that they've wanted, that they've called in for. But what was really hard for me to do was when people would get lots of free or discounted work,
Oh.
not giving the thanks, the appreciation, or the credit to the spiritual work. And I feel like people who do a lot of bypassing like that, it always catches up to them. And I've seen it more so in the Hollywood arena,
Okay.
but there's also a lot of, to that, there's also a lot of people in the field that are very superstitious and will do the work and will pay you your worth because they understand that what they do is a type of alchemy too, and that it requires an even exchange.
Can I just say, even when you said we'll pay you your worth,
Uh-huh.
it's even paying their, like, it's
Yeah.
for you, but it's for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a two-way street, baby.
absolutely.
If you're getting stuck, maybe it's because you ran up a tab here.
Well, and not
Well, not with,
investing in self too.
yeah, but it's like you ran up a tab with spirit, you know? Like you're
Mm,
just having your hand out all the time, but you're not giving back. And that's
mm,
always going to catch up to you. And that's always going to create a pattern where it's like you get ahead and then you stall out.
yep,
Your tire is stuck in the mud right now, in the spiritual mud.
yeah.
You got to get out.
And sometimes you need helping hands.
Yeah, yeah, but you got to appreciate those helping hands.
That's true. Well, and that's the whole thing too. I do appreciate where you were saying like you're going to
Yeah,
give the flowers to the people that have
yeah,
supported you because
absolutely.
it's helped you be where you are. And sometimes, yeah, I don't know, sometimes it's weird like people don't want to share their teachers either because then you're going to go to their it's just like weird things in the mind, but
Well, it's
it
like,
helps people. It builds integrity too.
yeah, and then it's like, but it's like if they helped me in immeasurable ways and like took my calls late at night when I was like a baby witch and freaking out about things,
Yeah.
why wouldn't I want to pay it forward and like send them somebody that's going to buy their courses and like
Yeah.
support them? Like they supported me. Like this is the
Yeah.
least I could do.
So what is your favorite offering that you have or your favorite way to support people?
Um, I love to refer people to them
Oh,
because it's like, and hopefully the people book, but it's like, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like money talks, you know? And it's like, if I can't go get a service or if I don't need a service, I always recommend people. Like, I took a script writing course once,
hmm.
and one day I was working an event and I was doing tarot, and I was talking to this one person I was doing a session with, and they were talking about wanting to get into screenwriting. And I was like, go to Scott Rogers. He has great classes.
Yeah.
He'll help you. And he actually works with a medium to, write things or make sure that things are flowing well. Like,
Oh,
it's, or a creative channeler. I don't know what
yeah.
title she goes by, but yeah, it's like you gotta always, pay it forward. You have to.
Because then that
Mhm.
will come back too.
Yeah, but also just so like, if the person goes to them and they're like, "Oh, hey, Annie told me to take your course," then that person will be like, "Oh, wow, like what I taught meant something to them."
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, wow, they appreciated that," or whatever. But
Ooh, and especially if it comes in a slow season.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
reminder.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So when you are working with folks, what are your offerings? What are the way we've talked about it a little bit, but in what ways are you working with people? What would you even recommend? I know it's all case sensitive, but what would you recommend for sessions that you offer?
So I always tell people, if you notice a pattern of something, that keeps coming up, but you don't know an inception of it happening in this lifetime. Like, let's say you almost drowned, so now you have a fear of water, but it happened in this lifetime. It's like, I would be like, maybe if you feel stuck and stagnant and you have certain phobias and patterns that are connected to things in this lifetime, do a present life energy clearing.
Mm,
But if you feel like you keep seeing these patterns and you don't know where the hell they're coming from, but you keep noticing them,
mm.
past life.
Yeah.
That's how I differentiate between like the Akashic stuff. Um Sometimes I'll open up property clearings and distance stuff, but that's usually more, it's funny, I get a lot of people from the East Coast when I open that up, and I think it's because the homes are really old and spooky
Right.
there.
Yes.
But I don't always open that up because it's a lot of remote viewing, and um, that can be quite tiring at times, more so than mediumship.
Yep.
But sometimes I'll open that up, usually around the time of year where veils are thinner and things are go bump in the night, you know. um, I have tarot, and then sometimes I will do, for creatives, I'll do I think for creatives, the best thing to do is spirit guide sessions, because then you can identify who or what is helping your creativity and how, so that you can tap into that in a safe way and you know how to access that vein.
Hmm.
I've helped with video treatments before. I've helped with um, uh, studio sessions, like writing sessions and recording sessions, like doing rituals for people before like they dive in, just so that the energy flows well. So yeah, it is case by case, but there are, for like the hour-long sessions and stuff like that, they can be customized for what the person is trying to tap into.
Hmm.
Yeah. But yeah.
So, how do they find you? All of the links I will have in the show notes. But
Um,
to find you, where do they find you? How do they find you?
So I do have a website, Annie Toufic, Toufic, alchemy.com. I also have an Instagram that has like my calendar link there. Um, if people come with a referral, I sometimes am willing to do sessions in person depending on the referral. Um, but I also do Zoom and telephone sessions. And I do incorporate sound healing with my energy clearing stuff. So whether it be property, past life, present life, I do incorporate that in there as well with the little pretty sound ball set.
Oh, I love, and I've seen your bowls in real life,
Yes. Yes.
and I got my hair done. Like it was such a great.
Yes. That was such a fun day. That was such a fun day.
It was. So,
Every
is there anything else that you would like to share with the folks before we go? Anything on your heart? Um, no pressure.
um, I would say, and this is in the realm of ritual and equal exchange. Let's say, you know, you go out and you take walks in the forest or wherever, near where you live. If you take something from nature, always leave something, and you will be rewarded. Whether, even if you're just taking like a pine cone or something, leave a penny out or something. It feels like, I go to the ocean a lot, and I feel like whenever I'm, wishing upon a wave or whatever. I know some people wish upon a star, but you can wish upon a wave too.
Yeah.
But whenever I, utilize that elemental energy, I always will try to leave something. But also, when you're asking and when you're leaving gifts, pay attention to what you feel in your physical body, what you hear, or what you see. Because all of those little things, they can be signs to you whether or not something's worked, or how long it may take. Just pay attention to the signs. It's really important. The nudges.
Yeah. Yeah, the little, like the nudges, the whispers, the visuals that are not induced by carbon monoxide. Oh, I love that. Thank you for being here. And much love to everybody hearing or watching the episode.
Yeah.
Lots of love.
Lots of love.
Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.